My name is Africa Awu. You can also call me the grandson of 4 revolutionary ancestors. Today, I'll be talking about a whole lot of things happening in our dear country, Nigeria, and way forward. First and foremost, I want to use this opportunity to wish my very good friend and brother in struggle, Comrade Analytical Spence. I want to wish you happy birthday. Long may you live, my dear brother. Long may you live. The first topic of discussion today is amnesty for Boko Haram. Amnesty for Boko Haram. Those who came up with this idea of amnesty for Boko Haram need to wear their thinking cap. They are of the view that if amnesty were being granted to Niger Delta militants, therefore Boko Haram members should also be given the same amnesty. And that's exactly where the problem is for this country, because we always play the ethnic, tribal and religious card where we ought not to, for the benefit and interest of our dear country. Let me take you down memory lane, a little brief memory lane. What brought about Niger Delta militants? The struggle came about when the people in the Niger Delta region begin to agitate for many years for better life, better living condition, and many other social amenities, which are primarily the responsibilities of government. But the government turned deaf ears, and this led to some youth picking up arms just to drive home their point. And that's exactly where the issue of militancy came about. Government haven't realized that they have failed in their responsibility, deem it fit to grant them amnesty so as just to appease them. And that is why even the kings, the chiefs in that community, they all supported these boys, because they were all fighting for the same cause. Now, what exactly is Boko Haram fighting for? They don't want Western education, but they are using Western bombs and guns. They don't want Western this, Western that. Even the internet they use in uploading their atrocities is part of Western education that brought about it. But they don't want all this. These people who have been killing and maiming the citizens of these countries, a lot of soldiers have died just to prevent them from overrunning the country. A lot of people are in the IDP camp, but here we are. Some people in the government want amnesty for this same set of people under the umbrella, in quote now, repentant terrorists. Does a terrorist repent? This is the question we actually need to ask ourselves as people. We need not play any ethnic or tribal or religious card here. We need to be objective. Does a terrorist repent? We spend a whole lot of money buying arms, equipping the soldiers just to fight these people. Now, we are also spending money to take care of these same people, whereas those who are victims of Boko Haram are in the IDP camp dying of hunger and lack of other social amenities. And we are here discussing about amnesty for Boko Haram. We don't need to play politics with everything in this country. We just need to realize that for any country to grow rather, the government must take responsibilities. Not only taking responsibility, they must be ready to make decisive decisions where it matters most. Most. Come to think of it, yes, I know that in some countries they used to discuss with terrorists, but because discussing with terrorists itself is a sign that the government has failed in its responsibilities, therefore they make it discreet. They go behind closed door, discuss with these people, beg them just to appease them to go away. But here in Nigeria, where our government need to be ashamed of themselves not being responsible enough. They are making everything open, that they are discussing, not even discussing now, they are also thinking about recruiting some of them into the military. A minister came out the other day, if I'm not mistaken, that they can also become president someday in the future. As I speak to you right now, we still have soldiers in Sambisa dying in the hands of Boko Haram. We have soldiers laying down their lives. Their families don't even know, they don't even care about their families. Their own well-being is not being taken care of just to protect this country. The soldiers struggle to arrest these terrorists and hand them over to their supposed ogas. Now these people are busy releasing them in quantities. The other day it was over 600. Another day it was another over 1,000. Is it that our government is trying to equip the terrorists with more members so as to combat our soldiers? This is a question we need to ask, and this question demands an answer. This question demands a very clear answer. A very clear answer. Just to make matter worse as well, a senator from Yobe, a former governor at that, whose state is more or less like the capital of destruction for Boko Haram, is proposing a bill to create a ministry for Boko Haram members. For crying out loud, my people, for crying out loud. What kind of a country are we in? Is this not the definition of a failed country? Of what essence is the celebration of the fallen heroes if those who actually fought them are being celebrated and taken care of by the government? Of what essence is good life if government is itself promoting terrorism and criminality under the umbrella of repentant Boko Haram? These are some of the questions we need to answer as a people if we actually want a way forward for this country. Our government has failed, and it is becoming obvious they are getting even more confused in their failure. No matter how far, that is what my grandfather used to say. He said, no matter how far you have gone in the wrong direction, the honorable thing to do is a U-turn. It's about time our government make a U-turn. Equip our soldiers very well. Take good care of those who are falling. I mean the families of those who are falling, so as not to make it look as if they don't care. It is impossible for a ragtag terrorist group to overrun well-trained army of the Nigerian Armed Forces. We used to be the pride of Africa when we go for peacekeeping. How come in our own land some small boys just pick up arms and begin to terrorize us, hiding under the umbrella of religion and tribal whatever sentiment? And some people in government, a senator, even have the effrontery to propose a bill, not to even talk about presenting it. He proposed a bill. This is a slap. This is a slap to the entire country. In fact, that senator needs to be investigated, because I am very sure that this Boko Haram of a thing has become a multi-million-dollar investment that must be protected. That's just the truth. We can't keep deceiving ourselves. And I can tell you categorically here today that if this thing continues to a certain point, it might lead to the breakup of Nigeria. Next topic I'll be talking about is about our population. What exactly is the population of Nigeria? Can a country grow without knowing its exact population? this is a question for all of us. As big as America is, I'm talking about the United States of America now, they know the total number of their population. When you ask them about their population, they tell you we are having 300 million, if that is what they are having. If it's less, they tell you we are having 297, we are having so number. They are precise. But in Nigeria, since 1999, if I'm not mistaken, what we keep hearing is Nigeria is about 180 million population. Nigeria is about 180 million population. Nigeria is about 190 million population. Nigeria is about 200 million population. We don't even know the total number of Nigerians in Nigeria. It's unfortunate that the last census conducted, Kano is the most populous state in Nigeria, but another census conducted by external body shows that Lagos is the most populous in Africa. Then I begin to wonder, how can Kano state be the most populous state in Nigeria while Lagos is the most populous in Africa? Meanwhile, Lagos is in Nigeria and Kano is in Africa. I would like to briefly talk about the recent, should I call it error in judgment by Supreme Court? I don't even know what to call it. But the recent judgment and the controversies it has generated for some time now. Come to think of it, I'm still wondering the rationale behind the judgment in Imo State. How can Supreme Court in its how will I put it now, rightful thinking come about the judgment that favors fault in a case where the total number of voters outrightly supersede that of the accredited voters? This continues to amaze me because I just don't want to talk about it, because some will come on here to tell you they are lawyers, this is what the constitution says, they are barristers, they've been called to bar and all other nonsense. My dear barrister, or whatever you call yourself, let me tell you this. When it comes to number, your barrister has nothing to do with it. When it comes to number, it knows no language, it knows no constitution. Mathematics itself is its own constitution, is a language on its own. That's why it is universal. Let me tell you this. If you write 1 here, take it anywhere in the world, it remains 1. How can the total number of voters supersede that of accredited voters, and Supreme Court deem it fit to declare a winner instead of outrightly cancelling the election for a rerun? This is not about any technicalities, it's about common sense. 1 can never be greater than 4. That is just the truth. 1 can never be greater than 4, and 4 cannot be more than 10. It is mathematics, it is number, it knows no constitution. This is an obvious mistake on the part of Supreme Court. And to make matter worse, we are still struggling to absorb the shock that happened with the judgment in Imo State. Then comes the judgment in Bayelsa. It is now a fact that Nigeria is the first country in the world to have a former governor-elect. No be small thing. Former governor-elect. The governor himself has no fault. Everything concerning him and his credentials are okay. But his governor, his deputy, who happens to be a man of many colors, is more or less like a chameleon with different ways to life, is the one found guilty. But if at all the deputy is guilty, would it not be better if that same deputy is disqualified and another one being picked, since the governor himself is alright and without a fault? Or what exactly is the problem here? Because this error in judgment by Supreme Court has brought about the issue of the judgment should be reviewed, and judgment of Supreme Court should be reviewed. And like every other thing we've come in contact with that we've corrupted, if politicians now know that the Supreme Court judgment can be reviewed, it will not be a case of no matter how fair the judgment is, the clamour for reviewing it will become the order of the day. What is the problem with these judges in Supreme Court, for crying out loud? Nigeria has a battered image already. The judiciary is already under spell since 1999. Not about Buhari's administration alone. We know what Obasanjo did with the court during his days. So instead of these people to help us in reviving our lost respectable image, they begin to add salt to injury. Now it's about a case of reviewing the Supreme Court judgment. What kind of nonsense is this? For how long shall we continue to go deep into nonsensity? I used to think that the older the wine, the finer it becomes. But these old people at the ends of affairs seems not to have any relationship with reality. Please drop your comment below and share with friends. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click on the notification bell so that you'll be notified as I drop more videos. Until we meet again next time, I remain the grandson of all ancestors. Bye for now.